With some of these guys, you shouldn't just be panicking. You should be terrified. Now, others honestly may represent good buy low candidates. We'll go one by one here. First guy, Dameon Pierce, be very worried, okay? With Pierce, this is a running back that 2 weeks ago looked like maybe he was actually going out there and expanding his role. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe it's no longer going to be a three-man running back by committee. We can possibly look to go ahead and start Dameon Pierce. Well, nope, he lost the job, it looks like. Okay, now I'm not going to be too surprised when we see this. The writing should have been on the wall. I wish we would have seen it on the wall because Dameon Pierce so far this season has averaged 2.9 yards per carry. Now, of course, yards per carry, not necessarily the most meaningful statistic. Obviously, it can be very skewed off a small sample. It's very dependent on your situation, yada, yada, yada. We all know it. But still, laughably inefficient running back. His longest run of the season so far through almost 100 carries has been for a whopping 15 yards. This is even after the Houston Texans offensive line manages to get a little healthier. And this week, you have Devin Singletary seeing 12 carries for 58 rushing yards. And more concerningly, you have Devin Singletary playing 34 snaps in comparison to Dameon Pierce at 21. And you still have Mike Boone getting involved. You have Mike Boone seeing 10 snaps. Now, what options do you have with Dameon Pierce? Can I go out here and go sell high on Dameon Pierce to everybody? Our number one sell high candidate of the week? No. Obviously, y'all know I'm not telling you to sell a player that nobody wants. So in reality, you're probably sitting here snug with him on your roster. You're going to have to put him on your bench. He's going to a bye week this week. You can't cut him. It hasn't gotten that bad just yet. Clearly, you're not going to be able to sell him for anything. You have to bench him. Hope that something does end up changing. Now, someone that I am fine cutting, Zack Ertz is a tight end that we got so much hate on for never going through and putting as a locked and loaded top 6 option. And with Ertz, looks like he's possibly losing/lost his job. Trey McBride, 44 snaps compared to Zack Ertz at 35. Now, Zack Ertz still actually runs more routes in this offense than what you have with Trey McBride. This is naturally what you're going to see when Zack Ertz is more so the receiving tight end. Obviously, that's where the value is in fantasy. But nonetheless, if you're going to tell me that you have one of the worst offenses in the NFL, in the Arizona Cardinals, a very inefficient tight end in Zack Ertz that had been thriving off of volume, now just having to take that volume and cut it in half, not interested, cut him. I understand tight end's gross. Go pick up Michael Mayer and maybe have some upside rest of season. Now going over to Tampa with Rashad White has been a running back that I've been consistently ranking as someone that we wanted to put in our starting lineup. I mean, as y'all know, coming into the season, we were saying this was someone that was a sell high candidate. I mean, inefficient back that was in a bad offense, yada, yada, yada. Y'all have heard me say it a million times. But Rashad White surprised me at the beginning of the season because if you looked at the underlying snap data, which is what we saw this week as well, he's getting almost everything. Like even this week, he has 44 out of 56 snaps. And you're sitting here going, okay, well, if you're going to get this kind of volume, if you're Rashad White, then it doesn't really matter if you're an inefficient running back in what's not a great offense. Maybe you're still viable in fantasy. I mean, you had seen that every week going forward, 17 carries, 17 carries, 14 carries, 15 carries. This week, it falls down to 7. I almost thought Rashad White got injured in this game. I mean, you had Rashad White with 7 carries in comparison to Keyshawn Vaughn at 6. Rashad White does see 4 targets out of the backfield, but we previously had Rashad White as that like locked and loaded RB2 just based off of volume. And if the volume doesn't look like it's a guarantee, I'm not necessarily a believer in the talent, not a believer in the offense. So I guess maybe he's falling outside the top 24 running backs now. We have every team on bye, plus we have a million injuries this week, so you may have to start him. Now going over to Jerry Jeudy, I'll speak on him just super brief. Jerry Jeudy is not someone that you cut just yet. Obviously, embarrassed on national television. Everybody saw what Steve Smith Jr. did to Jerry Jeudy. And yeah, it was embarrassing. And I know most people here are ready to cut Jerry Jeudy off their team. Can't cut him. You got to roster him. You got to bench him. Because there is that outside chance. What happens if the tanking Denver Broncos, instead of extending Jerry Jeudy, decide to just get him off the team, send him to Buffalo, and then all of a sudden Jerry Jeudy finds himself in a great spot. So roster him, bench him, but don't cut him. And a sell-high guy for us last week was DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, bad offense, aging wide receiver, not particularly efficient. And yeah, he goes out, 5 targets, 1 reception, 20 receiving yards. Just have one of the worst games you could ever imagine from Ryan Tannehill. Now Ryan Tannehill is injured, and it's possibly either Malik Willis or Will Levis. Really hoping it's Will Levis. Interviewed the guy at the combine. He threw me a massive bone. I am forever a fan. But nonetheless, DeAndre Hopkins, not startable. We didn't really have him ranked as startable player this week. And this is with no Treylon Burks in this lineup. If you get Burks back, may even get worse for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, as we pull up Bijan Robinson, we're going to have a lot to say. So let me remind you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And now is the best time to go check out these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy, because Underdog hooked us up for our birthday in week 7. Justin Herbert more than less than half a total yard. For everybody a member of the flock, all you have to do is use promo code FLOCK on Underdog. And on top of that, if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, you are also going to be getting a Dak Prescott special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. 2 special pick'ems the same game literally never happens. Plus promo code FLOCK, a 100% deposit match, and our rest of season fantasy football rankings. So please make sure you're taking advantage of that. Could not be happier that we were able to get you it. But going over to Bijan Robinson, I'm still seeing people in the comment section going, oh my gosh, Mason, Bijan's toast. This Atlanta Falcons offense is horrendous. I agree. This Atlanta Falcons offense is horrendous. Desmond Ridder is no bueno. But what were y'all wanting with Bijan Robinson? And this is a legitimate question, right? As I'm sitting here, and we've seen 6 games from Bijan Robinson. He has been playing in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. He's been averaging over 90 total yards per game. In these 6 games, he's averaging over 5 targets per game. So when you have a complete collapse, when you have an embarrassment from the Atlanta Falcons against the Washington Commanders, what does Bijan Robinson do? He saves his fantasy day with 8 targets, 5 receptions, and 43 receiving yards. I can tell you one thing. I know a lot of you had wide receiver 2s in your lineup this week that did not see 8 targets for 5 receptions and 43 receiving yards. Plus you get the rushing on top of it. We can go back a few other weeks. I mean, when they embarrassed themselves against the Jacksonville Jaguars, Bijan Robinson, 105 rushing yards, 5 receptions for 32 receiving yards, in a game where the Atlanta Falcons scored 7 points. Bijan Robinson, in the first 6 games of his NFL career, has been a borderline top 5 running back in fantasy and one of the worst offenses in the NFL. What do you want? Why would you panic? How does it get worse than this? He's in a horrendous situation. He is thriving. If the situation gets any better, he could turn into a true league winner, and he's one of the very few players that you can comfortably rely upon on a week-to-week basis. So I don't know why you are worrying about Bijan. He's averaging almost 100 total yards per game. He's averaging like 5-6 targets per game. Now, going over to Chicago, burn it down. All right, y'all know we had Justin Fields, DJ Moore as sell-high candidates. And if you're looking at Justin Fields, him going down, obviously I have no idea that's going to happen. But with Justin Fields, we don't know what the timeline is. But full transparency, no idea. I know it's something to do with the thumb. All I do know is Tyson Bagent. I can't pronounce this. I mean, I was listening to the games on mute at the gym, but nonetheless, horrendous. 2 turnovers. He had the sack fumble. I believe it went for 6. You had the interception. Justin Fields wasn't any better when Justin Fields was in the game. Justin Fields, off of 10 attempts, had 58 passing yards and an INT and 4 sacks. DJ Moore is doing the best he can to overcome it, where DJ Moore goes out there and he has 51 receiving yards off of 113 passing yards in this offense. It doesn't matter. If you're going out there doing everything that you can to overcome it, if this offense is this bad, you have no hope. DJ Moore is a mid wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 2. If you could have sold him at that wide receiver 1 price tag, I really hope you did. And if you look at the situation the Bears now find themselves in, they are currently 1-5. They also own the Carolina Panthers first round pick. The Carolina Panthers are currently 0-6. If you are in charge of the Chicago Bears, what is your incentive here? Is your incentive to go, "Ooh, okay, we can possibly end up with the first and second overall picks. We can actually get some cornerstone assets to finally turn this around with. We can go out there and we can turn our team around." Or is your incentive, "Oh man, I know we have a lot of diehard Justin Fields fans. I know that Bears fans love Justin Fields. We're going to sell a ton of jerseys." Trust me, I was at the NFL draft this year. Justin Fields is in the NFL's guy. Every single person there was wearing a Justin Fields jersey. I don't think they rushed Justin Fields back. Obviously, I have no idea what the timeline of this looks like. But nonetheless, if I was a Chicago Bears drafter, I would be very, very worried at the moment. Now, going over to T. Higgins we listed as the buy low watch list last week. We weren't saying to buy low last week. We're saying to put him on the watch list, buy low the week after. I didn't even think he was going to play this week, but he did with the rib injury. Didn't do anything. I mean, he went out there. He only played 29 snaps. Higgins will be fine going forward, okay? I mean, this is exactly what we are looking for going into the bye week. T. Higgins hasn't really done anything over the past 3 weeks. You've had an injured Joe Burrow. T. Higgins has 149 receiving yards this season. If we can buy T. Higgins as a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 during the bye week, and then he comes out of the bye as that mid to high end wide receiver 2, would love it. Yes, Higgins has been horrendous. I'm surprised he even played. Burrow's been bad, but getting this bye week really going to help this team out to get fully healthy. Now, going over to George Kittle, don't want to focus in on this too much. This is what you're going to see with Kittle. 1 receiving yard, 2 targets. The week prior, he had 3 receiving touchdowns. The week before that, he had 9 receiving yards off of 1 target. George Kittle is going to give you nothing. A 40-point week, nothing. A 40-point week, nothing. A 40-point week. At the end of the day, it's all going to average out, as it always has with Kittle. Every single season over the past 3 years, he's been a top 5 tight end from a points per game perspective. I want to say, okay, this is going to be the year where he's not a top 5 tight end. But now you have CMC injured. You have Deebo Samuel injured. You possibly assume the target share goes up for George Kittle in this offense. And at the same time, the tight end position is a complete wreck. So while, yeah, I'm not going to tell you not to be worried about George Kittle. George Kittle could give you an absolute dud next week as well. It's not like this is out of the blue, and it's not like you were never expecting this with Kittle. Now, going over to Davante Adams, I know a lot of people are asking about him. And yeah, Davante Adams dealing with a shoulder injury. I don't know if he's fully healthy. He does play all the snaps this week. He has 64 snaps, same as Jakobi Meyers. He does run 33 routes. He's out there. You don't know if he's being used as a pseudo decoy. I don't know if I'm just making excuses for Davante Adams. Obviously, an overall very large sample. Davante Adams has been dominant, but in games where Myers and Adams have played together this year, I mean, it's specifically with Jimmy Garoppolo. In games with Jimmy G and Jakobi Meyers playing, Davante Adams has not been good, and Jakobi Meyers has been great. Going forward, I believe we've had like 3 of those, maybe 4 games at this point, with that being the case. Do I expect that to be the case rest of season? Probably not. I probably expect a Davante Adams bounce back. Now, with that being said, does he not fall down our rankings? No, of course he has to fall down our rankings. You clearly have to have a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown over him. You possibly have to have like CeeDee Lamb over him, depending on what happens in the Dallas game. I think Adams goes from being a high-end to a mid-wide receiver 1, now to a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, and there's very much a chance that he continues to fall. But as it stands now, I'll still be starting Davante Adams. And you can try to sell him. Just don't think you're going to get anything. Now, going over to Puka Nacua, this is a wide receiver that we were saying sell earlier this season. I was expecting Kupp to come back in, Kupp to be the wide receiver 1, and Kupp to make Puka kind of irrelevant, that low-end wide receiver 2 that, I mean, you were going to be better off selling for Chris Olave. And I would love to come out here and go, ha, I told you. In reality, that's not the case. In reality, Puka's just fine, ladies and gentlemen. Puka goes out there, he sees 55 snaps, he runs 28 routes, the same amount as Cooper Kupp. More importantly, if you look at the target volume, Puka still saw 7 targets in this game. He saw 7 targets in comparison to Cooper Kupp at 9. and there was a touchdown left on the field from Puka, it would have been about a 20-yard touchdown if memory serves correct. If you go out there, if you add that onto a stat line and you go, okay, you have the 5 receptions, the 50 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown, is there a single person here worried about Puka? Probably not. I think that I want to stand by. We probably did not give Puka enough credit early on in the year. I still think Puka's a must-start player. I still probably go through and rank him as a mid-wide receiver too, even with Cooper Kupp coming in and taking the target volume. I don't want to go as far as say to buy him low by any means. I could still probably rather have like Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle over him. But, I mean, if you're going to be looking at him next to guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, I'm going to be taking Puka at this point. But I think that's all I have for you on this video. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, and like I said, now is the best time to get on Underdog Fantasy because they hooked everybody up who's used promo code FLOG with a Justin Herbert special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard going up against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night. And on top of that, they're hooking you up with a Dak Prescott special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard against the Chargers. That same game, only promo code FLOG. They never do it, but it was our birthday this week, so they decided to throw us a bone. And yeah, promo code FLOG also going to get you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings. So please make sure you would take advantage of that. Super happy we were able to hook you up with it. But thank you again. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope we get to see you out in the live stream later tonight.